All right, so today we're going to do a deep dive into the mind of business mogul Donald Trump.
Oh, yeah.
You guys sent in excerpts from Trump 101, The Way to Success, and we're here to break it down.
That's right.
It's part autobiography, part business advice.
Yeah.
And it even includes diary entries from a pretty wild time, 10 days surrounding his son Barron's birth.
Right around that time period.
It's a unique blend, to say the least.
Very unique, yeah.
We're not just skimming the surface here.
No.
We're going to uncover those core business principles, get into some of those fascinating anecdotes.
Yeah.
And hopefully leave you with something to think about, even if you're not building a billion-dollar empire.
Okay.
So let's start with a theme that runs throughout the book: passion.
Okay.
Trump is adamant that you have to love what you do.
Mm-hmm.
It's not all about the money.
Right.
And he uses a pretty relatable example, his love for golf leading to the creation of Trump Golf.
It seems like a natural fit for him, right?
Yeah.
But what's interesting is he doesn't just blindly chase passions.
Right.
He actually cautions against letting passion cloud your judgment.
Yeah.
He even recounts a time when his own enthusiasm got him into financial trouble.
So it's about finding that balance, that sweet spot where passion meets strategy. I can relate to that.
Oh, yeah.
I once poured my heart and soul into a project that, well, let's just say it didn't exactly take off the way I envisioned it. Live and learn, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Those personal anecdotes are so valuable. You see the human side of his business decisions.
Yeah.
And those failures often offer the most potent lessons.
Yeah, for sure.
Now, speaking of aiming high, that's another cornerstone of Trump's philosophy.
Oh, okay.
He believes in making a statement, going big or going home.
You can't talk about Trump without thinking about that pink marble lobby in Trump Tower.
Right.
It definitely screams statement piece.
Mm-hmm.
And love it or hate it, it became a landmark.
It did.
But what's interesting is he also talks about rebuilding Woolman Rink in Central Park and not just completing it.
But doing it faster and cheaper than the city could,
Right.
that's where Trump's scale comes in.
Exactly.
It's not just about being flashy. It's about doing the best job possible no matter what.
No matter what the project is.
And that Trump scale itself is this whole philosophy of thinking big, aiming high.
Right.
You see it in his projects like the Jersey City Towers,
Oh, yeah.
some of the tallest residential towers in Jersey with views of Manhattan.
Beautiful views.
So it's not about fitting in, it's about standing out.
Yeah.
So for our listener out there, think about your own projects or goals.
Mm-hmm.
Where could you reach a bit higher? Set a new standard. It might not involve pink marble,
No.
but you get the idea.
But the principle is the same. Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about.
Now that brings us to another crucial theme: persistence.
Okay.
Trump uses a really striking analogy to drive this point home.
Okay.
He asks, what if Michelangelo had refused to paint the Sistine Chapel ceiling?
Wow. Yeah, that really puts things in perspective. You can almost hear him saying, don't be a quitter.
Right.
And he doesn't just talk the talk, he
Yeah.
walks the walk.
Mm-hmm.
Think about the development of Trump Place on Manhattan's West Side.
Yeah.
That project was a behemoth. It took years to complete, faced countless obstacles.
Right.
But in the end, it transformed a huge chunk of the city's skyline.
That's a lesson in seeing your vision through, even when it feels like you're pushing a boulder uphill.
It is, and it goes hand in hand with courage.
Yeah.
Remember that everyone advised him to convert 40 Wall Street into apartments.
Oh, yeah.
He went against the grain, stuck to his guns, and ultimately it paid off.
Big time.
So for you listening, think about this.
Mm-hmm.
What's that goal, that seemingly impossible dream you're willing to fight for?
Right.
It might not be a skyscraper, but the principle's the same.
I love how you bring that back to the listener. It's not just about Trump's story.
Right.
It's about finding those nuggets of wisdom that we can all apply to our own lives.
Exactly.
Speaking of wisdom, let's move on to knowledge. Trump is a big advocate for being informed, doing your homework, having all the facts before making a move.
He emphasizes that meticulous research was behind his quick decision to buy 40 Wall Street. He knew the building, the market, the owner, everything.
Wow.
But what's fascinating is he doesn't just champion book smarts.
Right.
He believes in street smarts, too.
Okay.
He talks about learning by taking calculated risks, jumping into the arena.
That reminds me of the Commodore Hotel project.
Oh, yeah.
It was dubbed a seat on the Titanic by many.
Right.
But he saw the potential and turned it into a massive success.
The Grand Hyatt Hotel revitalized the whole area.
Yeah.
It's a perfect example of how knowledge and action work together.
Yeah.
He had the vision and the information, but he also had the guts to take a chance.
Right.
It's a balance we see in many of his endeavors, even in The Apprentice.
Oh, yeah.
Remember that book smarts versus street smarts season?
Oh, that was a nail biter.
Experience won that one.
So for our
Oh, yeah.
listener, think about this. What knowledge do you need to acquire to reach your goals? And where can you get out there and gain experience? Put those skills to the test.
Right.
You might be surprised by what you discover.
Yeah.
Now, I know we can't talk about Trump without addressing the elephant in the room.
Okay.
That 2-word phrase he made famous.
Uh-huh.
You're fired.
It's ironic, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
His most recognizable phrase is one nobody wants to hear.
Right.
But even within that tough reality, there are valuable lessons.
I'm all ears. What wisdom can we glean from the art of firing?
Well, first and foremost, Trump emphasizes that firing is never enjoyable, but it's sometimes necessary.
Right.
He stresses being prepared, protecting yourself legally, and handling the situation with composure and privacy.
Right.
No blow-ups, no public shaming,
Right.
just a clear and respectful process.
He makes a good point about keeping things professional even when it's tough.
Yeah.
I've been in situations where I've had to let people go, and it's never easy. But I've learned that being clear, direct, and respectful is the best way to handle it.
Absolutely.
And while he's known for that decisive, "you're fired," Trump actually emphasizes fairness.
Right.
He points out that he hires talented, hardworking people.
Yeah.
So he rarely has to let anyone go.
Right.
But when he does, it's not personal, it's a business decision.
It is.
And that ties into another key point he makes. Choosing the right people in the first place.
Yeah, people you actually enjoy working with.
Right.
People who share your vision and values.
Yeah.
He points to the long tenures of many of his employees as proof that building a strong team is about more than just skills on a resume.
It makes sense when you have a team that's in sync, that's passionate about the work, it creates a completely different energy.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, now for a topic that might surprise some people, it surprised me.
Okay.
Trump is a firm believer in intuition even when it seems to defy logic. He talks about instantly connecting with Mark Burnett, the creator of The Apprentice.
Talk about a gut feeling paying off big time.
Right.
Launched a whole new chapter in his career.
Yeah.
But what's interesting is he doesn't advocate for blindly following your intuition.
Right.
He talks about the importance of gathering information, analyzing the facts, and then ultimately letting your gut guide you to a decision.
So it's not about throwing logic out the window.
Yeah.
It's about that moment when you've weighed all the options and you just have this feeling about the right path. It's like that little voice inside you saying, go for it.
Yeah.
I have to admit, I've had moments like that in my own life.
Oh, yeah.
And sometimes they've led to some pretty amazing things. Have you ever had a gut feeling that turned out to be spot on?
Oh, absolutely. I think we all have those moments where something just clicks and, you're on the right track, even if you can't explain it logically.
Yeah.
But those moments are often the result of years of experience, observation, accumulated knowledge, informing those seemingly out-of-the-blue instincts.
Yeah.
It's like your subconscious is doing the math while you're going with your gut.
I love that.
Yeah.
It's like that gut feeling is a culmination of everything you've learned and experienced.
Exactly.
Okay, so next up, we're diving into a concept that's super relevant in any field, but especially in business.
Right.
Personalizing the pitch.
Right.
This one really caught my eye.
This is where Trump shows his finesse as a deal maker. He's all about finding common ground, building rapport, connecting with people on a personal level.
Right.
He shares this great anecdote about a negotiation where he initially disliked the other party.
I can only imagine how those negotiations started.
Right. But then he discovered they shared a love of golf. And suddenly the whole dynamic shifted.
Okay.
The tension eased, they connected on a personal level, and they ended up closing the deal.
It's classic Trump finding that unexpected angle to build a connection even with someone he initially clashed with.
Yeah.
It highlights a really important point. Business isn't always just about numbers and contracts.
Right.
It's about human connection.
Exactly. He even mentions hiring a lawyer, specifically because they bonded over their shared love of music.
Wow.
It wasn't a strategic move. It was a human one. And it speaks volumes about his approach to building relationships.
So think about this.
Yeah.
How can you personalize your approach in your own interactions? Whether you're pitching an idea, interviewing for a job, or even just networking, that human touch can make all the difference.
It can.
Find those common threads, those shared interests, and build on them.
Yeah, build on them.
Now let's talk about a skill that many see as innate.
Okay.
thinking on your feet.
Right.
You'd think someone like Trump was just born with that quick wit and ability to react instantly,
It seems that way.
but he attributes it to something much more attainable,
Oh,
preparation.
he emphasizes doing your homework, knowing your stuff inside and out. So when that curveball comes, you're ready.
So he doesn't just wing it. He's armed with knowledge and ready to adapt.
Exactly.
He ties this back to his experience on The Apprentice, where those poor candidates are constantly thrown into situations that demand quick thinking and improvisation.
Yeah.
I always felt bad for them.
I know.
But I guess it's great training for the real world.
It is.
So for our listeners out there, how can we cultivate that ability to think on our feet?
Trump's advice is refreshingly straightforward.
Okay.
Become an expert in your field. Immerse yourself in the knowledge, the trends, the challenges. Consider taking acting or public speaking classes to build confidence and presence.
Okay.
And then practice.
Yeah.
The more you put yourself out there, the more comfortable you'll become with thinking on your feet.
It's like anything else. The more you do it, the easier it becomes.
It does.
Now, this next one might surprise some people. It surprised me.
Okay.
Trump actually downplays the importance of money as the sole focus.
That's right. He acknowledges that money is essential. But he stresses that it shouldn't be the only driving force. He talks about finding fulfillment in the work itself, the process of building, creating, making a lasting impact.
He uses the Grand Hyatt project as an example.
Oh, yeah.
It wasn't just about the profit. It was about revitalizing a whole section of the city, breathing new life into the area around Grand Central Station.
Exactly.
And he goes on to discuss ventures like The Apprentice and Trump University.
Right.
He didn't pursue those projects primarily for the money.
No.
He was drawn to the challenge, the opportunity to learn something new, and the chance to share his knowledge and experience.
Right.
I love that he followed his curiosity and his desire to make a difference. So for you listening, ask yourself what truly motivates you beyond the paycheck.
Yeah.
How can your work align with your values, your passions, your desire to contribute something meaningful to the world?
Good question.
We're going to take a quick pause here, but don't go anywhere.
Right.
When we come back, we'll delve into even more fascinating insights from Trump 101, The Way to Success.
Sounds good.
Stay tuned.
Looking forward to it.
Welcome back. We're deep in the world of Donald Trump and his book, Trump 101, The Way to Success, unpacking his business philosophies and those colorful personal stories. Before the break, we were talking about what drives him. And it's not always just the bottom line.
Right. We saw that in his passion projects like The Apprentice. It seems like he thrives on constantly learning new things, viewing each project as a challenge to conquer. He even talks about having to become a student of reality TV, doing a total crash course when he took on The Apprentice.
That's what I find so intriguing about him. He's this larger-than-life figure, but he's not afraid to admit he doesn't know everything. He's got that perpetual student mindset, always eager to dive into something new. It's inspiring, actually. So for our listener out there, what's that one thing you've been putting off learning? Maybe it's time to tackle it with that same Trumpian enthusiasm.
I love that challenge. Now, this next concept ties into that constant evolution. Trump uses this striking analogy of empires rising and falling throughout history. He's basically saying, don't get complacent. The world is changing. You have to change with it.
He sees business as this living, breathing thing that needs to constantly adapt to survive. And he applies that to himself, too, even as the head of the Trump Organization. He talks about how he's constantly reevaluating, making adjustments, and ensuring all the parts are working together seamlessly.
He's not afraid to shake things up.
Yeah.
That ties into another one of his key principles, breaking fixed patterns. This one surprised me, honestly, because he's known for being pretty strong-willed. But he emphasizes the importance of flexibility, even telling the story of changing Trump Tower's name from TV City based on feedback.
Wow, he was willing to change the name of his flagship building. That says a lot about his willingness to adapt. He even admits that he initially rejected the idea for a reality show before finally saying yes to The Apprentice. Talk about breaking a pattern.
It shows that even someone as successful as Trump recognizes the need to stay open-minded, to challenge his own assumptions, and be willing to pivot when necessary. So for our listener, what's that one pattern in your life or work that might be holding you back? What are you afraid to try that could lead to unexpected success?
Those are great questions now. Let's talk about a quality that's crucial in business, especially in Trump's world focus. He's known for being laser-focused on his goals, and he has a pretty unique way of describing it.
He talks about concentrating on the target, not the weapon he uses, an episode of The Apprentice as an example, where one team got so caught up and creating this elaborate, flashy presentation that they completely forgot the main goal to sell the product.
Ah, classic style over substance. They lost sight of the bottom line. It's easy to get caught up in the bells and whistles, isn't it? We can all fall into that trap.
Absolutely. Trump emphasizes the importance of keeping your eye on the prize, reminding yourself of the ultimate goal, and not getting sidetracked by distractions. It's a simple concept, but incredibly powerful.
So how can our listener apply this in their own life?
It starts with identifying your top priorities, setting clear goals, and then ruthlessly eliminating those distractions that pull you away from what truly matters. It might mean saying no to certain opportunities, delegating tasks, or simply carving out dedicated time for focused work, whatever it takes to keep that target in sight.
Now let's shift gears and talk about something that's a bit more delicate, but a reality of the business world, firing people. I'm curious to hear how Trump approaches this, because he's certainly known for that infamous phrase.
It's interesting because while he's made "you're fired" part of pop culture, he actually offers some surprisingly thoughtful insights into the process.
You're right. He doesn't just advocate for firing people willy-nilly.
He emphasizes fairness, professionalism, and handling the situation with respect. He stresses protecting yourself, legally being composed, and having those difficult conversations privately. No public shaming, no drama, just a clear and respectful process.
That's actually good advice. I've had to let people go in the past, and it's never easy, but I've learned that being direct, clear, and respectful is the best approach.
And he ties this back to the importance of hiring the right people in the first place. People who are a good fit for your company culture, who share your values, and who are genuinely passionate about the work he points out. That he rarely has to fire people because he's very selective about who he brings on board.
So it's about setting the stage for success from the beginning, building a strong team that's aligned and motivated. Now, let's talk about a concept that's essential for anyone in business, but especially someone as ambitious as Trump timing.
He talks about this in a very visual way, comparing it to a baseball player waiting for the perfect pitch.
It's about knowing when to swing, when to hold back, right?
Exactly. He cautions against impulsiveness, especially in negotiations, jumping into a deal without carefully considering all the angles can cost you dearly. He actually tells a story about waiting on a real estate deal, and then a storm hit the area, which ended up saving him from a potentially bad investment.
Wow, so his patience literally paid off. It's a powerful example of how sometimes the best move is to wait, to observe, and to strike at the right moment. It's like that saying, timing is everything.
And he applies this principle to all aspects of business, from making deals to launching projects to even hiring decisions. He stresses the importance of not rushing into anything, of taking the time to assess the situation and then making a move when the timing is right.
I think that's a great takeaway for our listeners. Think about it. What are you rushing into right now? Is there something that might benefit from a little more patience, a little more observation? It could be a career decision, a relationship, or even a personal project. Sometimes the best thing you can do is wait for the right moment. Now, let's talk about something that seems almost antithetical to Trump's personality: breaking fixed patterns.
It is surprising, isn't it? He's known for being strong-willed, decisive, and having things done his way. But he actually emphasizes the importance of flexibility and adapting to changing circumstances. He even tells the story of changing Trump Tower's name from TV City based on feedback he received.
Wow, he was willing to change the name of his flagship building. That says a lot about his ability to let go of an idea, even one as significant as that.
It shows that even someone as successful as Trump recognizes the need to stay open-minded, to challenge his own assumptions, and be willing to pivot when necessary. He even admits to initially rejecting reality TV proposals before finally saying yes to The Apprentice. Talk about breaking a pattern.
It's a great example of how stepping outside your comfort zone can lead to unexpected success.
So for our listener, what's that one pattern in your life or work that might be holding you back? What are you afraid to try that could lead to unexpected success?
Those great questions. Now, let's talk about something that's crucial for achieving any ambitious goal: momentum. Trump's take on this is fascinating because he recognizes that momentum is a powerful force, but it can be a double-edged sword.
Exactly. He describes momentum as this incredible energy that can propel you forward, but it can also lead to recklessness and burnout if you're not careful. He talks about a successful developer who lost everything because he became complacent, lost control, and let momentum carry him in the wrong direction.
It's a reminder that past success doesn't guarantee future wins. You have to stay vigilant, keep pushing yourself, but also know when to pump the brakes.
He stresses the importance of self-awareness, recognizing when you're on a roll, but also being aware of potential hazards and staying on course.
So for our listeners out there, how can you harness the power of momentum while avoiding those pitfalls?
It's about finding that sweet spot, staying focused and driven, but also taking care of yourself, listening to your intuition, and being mindful of those warning signs that might indicate you're heading for trouble. Now let's talk about something that nobody enjoys, but is an inevitable part of life, especially in business problems. I'm curious to hear Trump's perspective on this because he's certainly faced his share of challenges.
He doesn't strike me as someone who shies away from a good fight.
You're right about that his approach to problems is surprisingly pragmatic. He views them as inevitable. But he emphasizes the importance of a proactive, solution-oriented mindset. He talks about his early struggles with the Grand Hyatt project, describing it as a trial by fire that taught him some invaluable lessons.
It sounds like he learned a lot from that experience, even though it was incredibly challenging.
But the most powerful story he shares is about a time when he was $9 billion in debt, caught in a rainstorm during a crucial negotiation. It sounds like a scene from a movie.
Wow, I can only imagine the pressure he was under. Did he just give up?
Not at all. He dug deep, found that inner strength fought back, and ultimately turned things around. It's an incredible story of resilience and determination. And it highlights his belief that even in the face of seemingly insurmountable obstacles, there's always a way to find a solution.
So for our listeners out there, think about that challenge you're facing right now, that problem that seems impossible to overcome. Remember, Trump's story, don't give up, dig deep, tap into that resilience, and find a way to move forward.
We're going to take another quick break here, but we'll be back soon to wrap up our deep dive into Trump 101. The way to success. Stay with us.
Oh,
And we're back, wrapping up our deep dive into Donald Trump's Trump 101. The way to success, we've covered a lot of ground: passion, persistence, timing, even how to fire someone gracefully. But one thing that keeps coming up is this idea of reaching higher punny, pushing yourself beyond your comfort zone.
it's like this constant upward trajectory. With him, he uses the analogy of explorers venturing into uncharted territory. He's not content to just follow the well-worn path.
Right.
He wants to forge his own way, always pushing the boundaries. He's not afraid to take risks, try new things, even stumble along the way, but he always picks himself up and keeps moving forward.
And what's interesting is that he emphasizes the importance of personal reflection in all of this. He talks about the need to carve out quiet time, even amidst his insanely busy schedule, to center himself, regroup, and stay focused on his goals.
That's so important. It's easy to get caught up in the hustle and bustle, but taking time for introspection can make all the difference. He even mentions that The Apprentice, a show you wouldn't exactly associate with deep thought, actually brought out his inner educator and led to some unexpected personal growth.
That's what I love about this book. It's full of these surprising insights. It challenges our preconceived notions about Trump and reveals a depth and complexity that you might not expect. So for you listening, think about this. What's that uncharted territory in your own life that you're curious about? What's that area of personal growth that you've been neglecting? Maybe it's time to explore it, to take that leap of faith and see where it leads you.
I love that it's a call to action for all of us to never stop learning, growing, and pushing ourselves beyond our perceived limits now. Before we wrap up, I want to touch on one more key theme that runs throughout the book: leadership. What are those qualities that Trump believes are essential for effective leadership?
Well, he doesn't offer a specific formula or checklist. It's more about embodying certain principles and traits.
Okay, like what?
He talks about vision, having a clear sense of where you're going, and inspiring others to follow. He also emphasizes the importance of decisiveness, being able to make tough calls and stick to your guns, even when faced with opposition.
That's definitely a hallmark of his leadership style. He's not afraid to make bold moves, even if they're controversial.
And he stresses the importance of surrounding yourself with talented people, building a strong team that shares your vision and values. Remember, he talks about how he rarely has to fire people because he's so selective about who he hires in the first place. It's about setting the stage for success from the beginning.
So it's not just about being the boss. It's about fostering that collaborative-driven environment where everyone can thrive.
Exactly. And it's about leading by example, demonstrating those qualities you want to see in your team.
Well, I think that's a great note to end on. We've covered a lot of ground in our deep dive into Donald Trump's Trump 101. The way to success, from passion and persistence to timing and leadership. We've unpacked those key principles that have guided his success.
And while not everyone aspires to build skyscrapers or host reality TV shows, There are some universal truths in this book that can be applied to any career or personal endeavor.
It's about finding what you're passionate about, setting ambitious goals, and then having the courage and determination to pursue them, even when faced with challenges. It's about constantly learning, growing, and evolving to stay ahead of the curve. And it's about having the self-awareness to recognize your strengths and weaknesses, to know when to push forward and when to hold back.
It's been a fascinating exploration, and we hope you've gleaned some valuable insights from this deep dive. Remember, this is just the beginning. Continue exploring these ideas, challenge your own assumptions, and never stop striving for your full potential.
And who knows, maybe you'll be inspired to write your own success story. Until next time, happy learning, everyone.